Mike, turn your games down.
Hi everyone, episode 243 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's running around with the Greek gods with me tonight?
Well, I'm Brandon. I'm from the Nomads of Fantasy. I'm one of the three hosts, and I am glad to be on this epic journey with you guys.
Welcome. I'm glad to have you finally. I've had Eric, now I have you on the show.
Oh, that's right. You did have Eric. You've had Eric maybe twice.
I think twice.
I want to say.
And I'm Ian. I occasionally write for thepixels.com, and I've just looked at the weather report here in the UK, and it says there's going to be some thunder and lightning this afternoon. So if I disappear halfway through, it's because Zeus doesn't want me talking about this game.
I mean, that's fair. So first, I just want to say thank you, because this is a game that I didn't think was going to happen on this show, because I asked on Facebook, I asked in Facebook groups, and everyone just ignored me. And I'm like, I don't want to do this alone. So then I reached out to Twitter, and you two lovely gentlemen were like, sure, I'll talk with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am curious why Ian said he would be on this one. I have my reasons, but I am definitely curious to see that there's another person willing to talk about this game.
I love the game.
Okay.
All right. And we are here to talk about Immortals Fenyx Rising, developed by Ubisoft Quebec, published by Ubisoft, and came out in 2020, December. Okay, so the height of during the plague.
Yeah, during the apocalypse.
Well, let's be honest. What it really is, it's like a reaction to a game that may have come out by Nintendo, like a couple years before that.
Are we allowed to talk about that game?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of have to. I mean, this game is a direct, consequence of Breath of the Wild.
He said it.
So, I mean, it is. It 100% is. I mean, I have to say real quick, I have never really played Breath of the Wild very much. I played it, I did the plateau, I got off the plateau, and then I just kind of wandered around, got lost, got irritated, turned off the game, and haven't went back.
So can you actually, I know we're here to talk about Fenyx Rising, right? But do you mind explaining a little bit more about your relationship with Breath of the Wild? Because I don't think you can talk about this game without talking about Assassin's Creed and Breath of the Wild, because it's 100% a mashup of those games.
Oh, yeah.
But
totally agree.
I would love, because those people at Ubisoft played Breath of the Wild and they were like, this is pretty fun. I can see why people like it. It's an open world. We do open world games. How could we do this with what we have? But I'm just curious, because a lot of people do like that game, and I personally struggled with Breath of the Wild. And most people are like, it's the greatest game. I'm like, yeah, it's got some faults, though, that kind of I think maybe Fenyx kind of does better. But
I did not like Breath of the Wild when I played it, but I also played it at the wrong time. I got it the day it came out on Wii U. I played it within a few days after I beat Dark Souls 1.
Ooh.
And when I went into it, I remember saying, why is there Dark Souls in my Zelda? And I died a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a good time, and I haven't touched the game since. Unfortunately, I have it on the show for the 5-year anniversary. I'm going to make myself play through that damn game.
Okay. I
did not like
that.
Weapon breaking. I didn't like climbing. I didn't like any of that. So
Oh, you didn't like the climbing?
no. And hey, spoiler alert, I still don't like climbing. So
Interesting. Ian, did you ever play Breath of the Wild?
I'm a huge, huge Zelda fan. I will say that Breath of the Wild is not in my top 10 Zelda games. Tears of the Kingdom is, but
Okay.
Breath of the Wild just didn't click with me at all when I played it. My girlfriend's brilliant at Breath of the Wild. She's played it through multiple times, and I find more fun just to sit and watch her play the game because I suck at it. But I did finish the game because, Zelda fan that I am, I had to get through to the end of it. And then it was a case of, there's DLC. Do you want to play? No, I'm done with it.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
That's how I feel with DLC every time there's DLC. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Uninstall. I'll get to that later.
Right.
That's just me personally with games. I'm like,
Well,
I'm just done.
So what's interesting, because I am so with you guys, I had to push myself through Breath of the Wild, and I was like, I want to like this game. Yeah. Everyone loves this game, and all the things that they like, I kind of don't like. And I'm not like a big Ubisoft fan. I enjoy the Assassin's Creed games. I kind of turn my brain off, and I just go around doing, whatever. You're mostly just killing things in those Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
But I felt like the timing of Breath of the Wild was just a bad spot for me. But when Tears of the Kingdom came out, I think that's one of the greatest games I've ever played. And I'm curious because when I was playing Assassin's Creed, they came out with this DLC for Odyssey. Odyssey is the one where you can pick a male or female, very similar to Phoenix, but like you basically, when you beat that game, it's a huge game. It's really hard to finish those games. They're really long. They had this DLC. Dude, it is just like Phoenix Rising. I'm curious. I'm so curious. I don't know if you guys ever played Odyssey, but if you played the DLC, okay. Yeah. So the DLC, there's one about like the fate of Atlantis, and you go to this island, and you're surrounded by waterfalls, and the island looks very similar to Phoenix Rising. Yeah. It's Phoenix Rising Immortal. Is that the full title?
Immortals Fenyx Rising. Because Immortals was going to be the brand that they were going to launch.
Okay.
Which, unfortunately, I don't think that IP is going anywhere, unfortunately, but yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was just trying to say that, like, it's just weird playing this game because I feel like I got all these emotions of, like, Breath of the Wild, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and then the DLC that they played. I can just see they had a meeting, and they're like, we could easily take these assets, this Greek mythology, and just run with it, and it'll be our answer to what Nintendo's doing. And for good or bad, like, to me, like, we're all here because I think we enjoyed the game. But I also think it kind of hurt the game. I think they made some really bad decisions with this game, which is unfortunate. And Mike, did you see the news after like you booked this episode? Like what happened to this franchise?
I am sad because the next one sounded way better and it fixed the things I didn't like. So
what was this? What were they going to do with the sequel to this game?
One, it wasn't going to be set in Greek. I mean, I did like the Greek, but they were going to do something different, which was the whole point of the Immortal stuff. And then they were also going to do. It was going to make it more open world discovery like Elden Ring, which I haven't played Elden Ring, but that sounded cool. Mm-hmm. And I think less puzzly maybe.
Okay.
And I wouldn't.
So I love the puzzles.
I hate the fucking puzzles. I mean, okay, I like some of them at times. My problem is it was my brain. Apparently, I found out does not like puzzle games. So I'm like, it would just like confuse me. Like there was one point you had to go grab 6 lettuces and put these lettuces on the pedestal. I did not understand. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And I look up a guide. I'm like, oh, that is so fucking simple.
You got to appease the lettuce god.
Yes, but for some reason, brain did not comprehend like what I was supposed to do often in this game.
Yeah.
So that I guess I'm. So I also have to say I have not played an Assassin's Creed game up to I got to where Unity is. And I never played Unity or anything after that. Unfortunately, I'm going back to the series now on this podcast, and I just played 2, and we're going to play Brotherhood in a few months. But so I've never played Odyssey. You know, all the newer stuff that this game is kind of
the
following
Assassin's RPG kind of games. Yeah.
I mean, this game, I had a very mixed reaction. I mean, I have been interested in this game since it came out because I love Greek mythology. I like Ubisoft games. Yeah. And I was really, really excited to play this game. And it kind of jumped around a bit. I started on easy difficulty, which normally I go to the easiest, which is story. And I'm like, no, I want a little bit of a challenge. But
but story mode is like, I was like 23 hours into this game on normal difficulty. Ooh. And then I was like, I need to move faster through this. And I put it to story mode, and I'm like, I am a god. Yep. Nothing can, like, literally, what is that, Medusa? It's a 30-second fight. You know, like, whatever god is thrown at me or monster's thrown at me, like, I can easily defeat it in story mode. I don't know if I would recommend people to play it in story mode because this is not a game you're playing for the story. Personally, I think this is more of, it's beautiful to look at. It's got it's got the Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed kind of fighting. And if you like puzzles, there's plenty of puzzles. You know, that's kind of how it's sell, but it's not the story, and it's definitely not the voice acting.
No, the story's not great.
That was like a letdown because I too love Greek mythology. I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still talking about it thousands of years later, and I think there's something special about like that, just that world, that fantasy, all that stuff. But I can't believe they did what they did with this game. It was just cheesy writing. And I don't know, maybe Ian, you liked it, but like it was such a hard hurdle for me to get through where I kind of started muting the game. And I know, Mike, I think you play all games quiet, but like I just can't take some of the jokes. Like it's just like I just want to explore this beautiful world, but I get cringe sometimes from the jokes that they had.
I love a good dad joke, it has to be said. And funnily enough, it was my girlfriend played this game before I did. I think I'd asked for a copy for Christmas and she just went out and bought it because she's awesome. And I said, give me no spoilers. What do you think of it? First impressions. And she said, it's actually made me laugh out loud. And it was the fake out credit sequence that started happening, and where it's like executive producer Zeus, fun provided by Zeus, and that got her. And there are some parts in it that, yeah, it's cringe, but I still got to say the section or the few cutscenes with Ares and his pet bear absolutely slayed me.
Ares was good. They did Ares very well, but I would say everyone else is more or less annoying. But like I like Ares, the rooster, and all that stuff. Like that was pretty clever. Like there are moments. Like it's not the whole time I'm eye rolling, but I personally was like I was excited, and then I was like I'm gonna be this demigod, and I'm gonna go fight all these like cool monsters in a Breath of the Wild looking world. But like imagine if Breath of the Wild had 60 frames a second and was like 4K. Like it looks great on my Xbox, but I was just kept thinking, man, what if they just had a more mature tone to this? How awesome could this game have been if they just aimed it more at like a more mature audience rather than like teenage 14-year-old, 15-year-old kind of humor. So that it was a personal thing, but like, yeah, if your girlfriend liked it, like, I'm not saying people won't like this. Like, just know in advance, if you see this for like $10, definitely worth playing. Just, if you can't handle the humor, mute the game. Otherwise, you'll probably have a great time playing it.
Yeah, just be aware that it's a cartoonish experience, even from the graphical style right down to, like say, the humor. Considering it's the same team that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey that made this, I think, like you were saying earlier, they had a board meeting and said, hey, we can do Breath of the Wild, let's make a game. And something in the back of my mind tells me the original title for this was Gods and Monsters before they had to change it.
It was. Apparently got in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And as a direct response to Odyssey, like you were saying, with the DLC from Odyssey being very much like this, you can imagine them moving away from, Alexios and Cassandra, kind of the real, humanistic kind of characters, and creating these cartoony characters as a response to that. Like you're saying, I think if they'd gone middle ground or gone more in the direction of the Assassin's Creed style of graphics with a more Greek mythology kind of lean, well, they got a few monsters in there in Odyssey with a couple of the optional monsters, the Cyclops and such like that. But if they'd gone that route instead of pure cartoonish, I can see what you're describing there would have been absolutely awesome. But I'm happy with what we got, and it's a lovely switch your brain off kind of game.
That is a very fair way to put it, yes. And I'm okay with that. I mean, the story is like, it did make me laugh. I mean, because it is cheeky. It's Zeus Prometheus is telling Zeus a story, and Zeus is just kind of being an ass. Like, they really make Zeus an asshole, which is great, because
I love that as a framing device for the narrative as well.
So, I mean, parts like that were a lot of fun for me, but I could have done without it at the same time. Like, I mean, I also don't like games where I have to create my character. I have a weird thing with that. I just don't really like it. I mean, it's fine here. It wasn't a big deal when I put, that I ended up going with the female character because that's what I wanted more. And
I made that mistake. I should have gone female.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
The female character's canon, as well as I understand it, just like Odyssey.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, really? Cassandra's the one that you're supposed to... Okay, because they show her brother on all the marketing and stuff like that.
Alexios is on all the box art, and then
I think people...
there was a wonderful little skit that they put onto YouTube with the two voice actors arguing in character who was canon. If you haven't seen that, it's well worth a look.
I might need to see that. Cassandra's like one of my favorite characters in a video game.
Alexios is one of mine.
Really? I see. I might have to go back and play the game just to kind of get his experience, because I do like Odyssey. I know it's so hard not to talk about the game.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's the prequel. We're allowed.
But,
I mean, essentially it is.
And I'm trying to think, like, it was months back when I started this playthrough for Phoenix, and the character creation, I think, was more or less pretty simple. The game I remember like kind of picked up pretty quick. You get like the storytelling from like Zeus and Prometheus. I think Prometheus is literally chained up still to the mountaintop, right? Because that's like his fate for like giving mankind like fire. Like, I do like that they played into these characters. Like, Zeus is a womanizing jerk. Like, he's not a nice god, right? But he's like the man, right? He's like the top god. So like, he's arrogant. I did enjoy some of the characters' like personalities, but I think Ares was, out of all of them, my favorite, just because I think that the art style really paired well with that character.
Oh, definitely.
But not the main character. I don't know.
I think with Zeus as well, there was one little quip that I wasn't expecting, and it was during one of the Ares scenes where he's prancing around as a chicken. And he says, Aphrodite will never love me like this. It's illegal. And Zeus just quips, not illegal. And I wasn't prepared for that.
Oh, that's fun. A little bestiality in your game.
They do good humor stuff. I mean, there's a lot of they threw. I mean, yes, Rand said you're right. This game is aimed towards the teenager type demographic, but they throw in a lot of sex jokes that you wouldn't expect.
Definitely. And it's at the moments where you don't expect them as well. The moment where you're just about to take a sip of your drink and suddenly your drink ends up on the floor.
I mean, and they're disguised enough that you might not get the jokes. Yeah. So if you don't know, which I think is fine too, it's like SpongeBob type humor almost, but I mean a little more adult than that. But it's stuff that the joke is there if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, you can imagine some teenager playing it on Christmas Day, or me playing it on Christmas Day, and then a joke like that comes on, and parents on the sofa just going, I get that. That's one for me.
Go ahead, Mike. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the gameplay loop of just running around this open world, and then you get the whole point is you get little dungeons that you'll unlock, which are essentially shrines from Breath of the Wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. From what I remember, Breath of the Wild, and I like parts of that, but that's what got to me. It's just there were too many shrines, and I didn't like. I wanted the puzzle to tell me, okay, I want you to do this. Give me some. I mean, after a while, I think my brain got really good at recognizing exactly what the game was trying to say, but there were times when it was I would have liked the game to be okay, here's a hint of what I want you to do. Figure out how to do it, but at least tell me what you want me to do a little bit more.
Yeah. Whereas I would love just a Zelda game of only shrine puzzles, because that was my favorite part of Breath of the Wild.
Yes. It took me a while to realize the secret to liking Breath of the Wild is the shrines. So after playing Tears of the Kingdom and going through, I forget their shrines or temples, but I really, really, really like the puzzles in Tears of the Kingdom. And now I feel like I have a new appreciation for what they wanted me to experience. And I see Zelda now, Breath of the Wild now, as not an explore and kill game, but rather explore and solve puzzles. And when I have that mentality, I probably will really like Breath of the Wild now. But with Phoenix, and I do like this game. I know I'm picking on the characters and the voice acting, but some of the puzzles are actually really fun and rewarding, and other ones are I don't want to do this, and it's a hard thing to pull off. How do you get people to play these puzzles if it's a big part of the game? But I was working through a big part of the game the other day, and I just wanted to solve this shrine, and it was multiple stages. And I was how long is this? I kind of want to go to bed, but I don't want to stop midway. And it took me a half an hour. And at the point I was just all right, YouTube, what do you got for me? Because this is racking my brain, and I'm not having fun right now, So sometimes the shrines can be hit or miss, I think.
Was it an
for anybody.
Essence shrine?
It's the ones where you go into the those big red fire pit looking things with the
so just a regular one?
Yeah, going in there and then moving the one I was working on that I was struggling with was these big little crates, and they're attached to a big crate.
Oh, okay. I know that. I know that type of puzzle.
Or Athena. It was Athena's one of Athena's quests, her final quest, and I was this is not fun. I just want to fight the monsters and be done with it and get the god on my side, kind of thing.
Yeah, they make the final ones of each god very, very annoying. They also save your spot though. In those, they actually save what you do every time you go through a checkpoint, you can save and leave and come back if you wanted to, unlike a normal shrine where if you leave, everything resets.
Okay.
It says it briefly in one part, one time when you first enter an Essence shrine, I think it tells you. I knew it because of the internet, because I'm a dirty cheater when I play games, so.
Well, you got 3 games to finish in a week, so you ain't got time for that.
Oh, I do different type of podcasts each week. But yes, I know I beat 1 game a week on average.
That's still impressive.
That's really good going.
It is when you put games like this on the show and go, why did I do this? Because that's what happened during past week. So
when you put a big game like that, a big 30-hour game on average, something like that. I had Mega Man X5 before this. I had something else shorter before this. I had planned it out so I could get through here without issue. So I gave myself more time.
Well, how many hours? Because I know if you look at howlongtobeat.com, I looked at this game. It said about 23 hours, 25 hours or something like that. I think I'm just over 30 hours. But I'm also, whenever I play an open world game, I explore the whole map and I unlock the towers so I can see the rest of the map, because it has that cloud thing in different areas, and you have to go and get to the tower to kind of cleanse and clear it out.
Yeah.
But like, how many hours did you guys log into this one?
I think for myself it was way over 30 hours. Can't remember exactly, but I play open world games exactly the same way you do. If it opens up before me, I've got to go to that tower, I've got to go to that tower, I've got to get rid of all the fog of war. And if there's a load of shinies on the map in front of me, I'm getting those shinies.
Okay. I was trying to do just the side quest and the main quest and not really screw around with too much other stuff. And then the side quest got broken. I said, fuck it, and just went through the main games. I was about 27 hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, and I did some shrines, but pretty quickly I stopped doing shrines that weren't mandatory.
So so we all can't. I think we all have like a different experience with this game, right? I've been working in this game on and off since it came out, which is how I play a lot of open world games. I can't. Tears of the Kingdom is really the first one I've ever nonstop played until I beat it. But like, I've been going in and out. But like, do you like? I know Ian loved it. I actually think this is a good game. There's just things you got to know about it. But like overall, Mike, did you? Because you're not really playing the way they wanted you to, right? They wanted you to take your time and explore the shrines and do the puzzles. But like, how do you feel about it doing it the way like you kind of main quested it? I guess.
I enjoyed it, actually, for the most part. I mean, especially once I stopped being an idiot and put the game on story difficulty.
Yeah.
And just accepted my fate and said, like, because the combat was fun, but it suffered the idea of some enemies just are a bit too tanky for because the game wanted you to do more shrines and wanted you to get more powerful. So it's set up that way for you to be more powerful. And I'm like, that's not how I want to play this. But no, I had fun. Once I got into it, I got into this game like big time. And I was having a good time with it. It's just sometimes my brain couldn't wrap around what the game wanted it to do. And I'm like, well, I want you to tell me what to do and then I'll do it. I don't want to I don't want to like, this game has a lot of environmental puzzles where you come to an area and you'll know it's a puzzle, you'll know there's a reward, but you got to figure out what the puzzle is.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yes, which is kind of what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does, but I will say those arrow puzzles are probably my favorite.
Those are fun.
Really like those kind of guide the arrow through the hoops and hit the fire and like light it up.
Those are always fun. I love those.
Yeah, I did all those almost every time, especially when I could slow down my arrows.
Yeah, once you get that ability to control the speed, yeah. There's a lot of unlockables. Like that's the thing that I think this game does well is like, yeah, the action, the combat is just like Assassin's Creed, especially the later ones. You know, you use your bumpers and triggers to do like the heavy and light attack. So it's just like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, even from the special abilities that you get. But what I like is, even though this is a more simple game, I would say a lot of the Ubisoft games are pretty simple, but I would say that like, but like the abilities, they're actually overwhelming. There's like so many things you can upgrade. And I always like that because like that lets me have control over how I want to explore this game, where like in Zelda, and I know those games are regarded as some of the best games, like those open world games, the link you get in the beginning is the link you get at the end. Like his weapons are going to break. There's no abilities to really learn. I mean, you can a little bit, like especially with like Tears of the Kingdom, but overall it's a very, very basic game and it's great. But this game, like I do feel like I crafted the character I wanted. Like I'm more of a person who uses a bow and arrow, so I can upgrade that character so that way when I'm fighting these bosses, I can just keep my distance and just get headshots, or I don't know. So I find like that kind of game loop rewarding because that's the character I wanted to make, you know? And I think that's important with a game that's throwing quests, side quests, there's loot, there's so much stuff you can collect and explore and find here and there. And then like, it's just the puzzles. So, but some of those puzzles you can't solve which is kind of annoying. Cause like I got the one puzzle, I was like halfway through it. And then I was like, oh shit, I can't lift this up. It is too heavy. I have to upgrade and I have to go to the Hall of Gods to upgrade my character. Why can't I just upgrade here? That like annoyed me. Like I literally have to abandon this quest and go upgrade it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that's what that was. I got every so often I would get somewhere with somebody, oh, your powers are not good enough, you know, to come back here later. And I just said, okay. And I never came back, of course. But I didn't realize it was because I didn't upgrade my god powers enough. I did some upgrades, but I really was just doing combat upgrades.
Yeah, I upgraded absolutely everything in that game. I find myself in games like this where you can go off on little tangents and find all the, I keep saying shinies, it's ambrosia in this one, isn't it?
That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll
I
let you
keep
go on.
finding those things, upgrading. Then when I go to do a certain quest, this happens in Assassin's Creed games all the time, where they'll say, I want you to go into this particular building and take everyone out. Be careful, it'll be heavily guarded. And I'll look at the building and go, oh, that building, I just killed everyone inside.
Yeah, well, in those games they tempt you because they'll have like I don't know if it's like a crown icon or what, but like, oh, that's an like elite character, and like
Yeah.
I love taking those guys because they usually have good loot on them,
Mhm.
and then you meet somebody who's like, oh, they like stole from my farm, like they're already dead, already slaughtered them.
Gotta say as well, I'm surprised it's taken us over 30 minutes to mention Zelda and breakable weapons.
I mean, weapons don't break in this game. That was a plus.
I know, I was like, hallelujah.
That's what turned me off of Breath of the Wild immediately. Was like I'd be fighting a moblin and I'd go through my weapon, his weapon, and something else I picked up, and I'm like, fuck this game. That's why I quit. By the way,
Mike, nothing like doing a quest, fighting.
Yeah.
Well, you'll spend like an hour doing a quest, fighting all these creatures, get this like really cool weapon, and then you're just exploring, doing shrines, and you fight some matches between, and you're wasting this awesome weapon on like basic characters. And it's just great. I just so then you start hoarding these weapons, and I'm like, my inventory's full. And maybe I'm just not understanding how to play it, but like that breaking weapons should be something I can turn on and off. I know that's probably like sacrilegious. I think at least do you agree, Ian? Like with Tears of the Kingdom, the fusing ability, they solved that. Because like at least to me, I was like, all right, it's not that big of a deal because I can find a stick and put a rock on it, and now it's pretty strong. But in this game, it felt good because I've been playing the hell out of Tears of the Kingdom. But getting into this one, I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm just going to go to town on these guys. And
exactly. I felt exactly the same way. I couldn't get into Breath of the Wild the way I wanted to because of the breaky weapons. Although, like I say, watching my girlfriend play it, and she's really, really good at this whole switching out weapons, switching for arrows at the right time. I'm getting old. I don't have the reaction time these days. But in this game, like you say, just being able to melee away at any character, it just felt powerful. It just felt good. It just felt comfortable.
And the arrow system, oh my god! Because like again, I keep comparing this game to other games. I just think you can't. I just think you cannot.
This is that type of game. It's a reaction to other open world games that came out before it. Simply.
Yeah, it's like how Ghost of Tsushima is kind of like the ultimate PS4 open world game.
Love that game.
Yeah.
Love that game. Although that game, there's no tunnels, there's no underground, there's no going in the caves and Ghost of Tsushima. So next time they make one of those games, I need to explore my goddamn caves. That's open world games always have caves. But anyways, like with Breath of the Wild, the arrows, like you had like different arrows and it was really annoying. You got to get like the fire arrow, the ice arrow. Like you had to like manage not only your weapons and shields, but also your arrows. Not fun. And then with Tears of the Kingdom, at least they made it one arrow. There's just one arrow. And if you want to fuse something to it, you can. Like, okay, that's cool. But this game, I love the arrow system. It sounds so weird, but like it's a magical sword. It's a magical bow and arrow. So your arrows automatically replenish. So let's say I have up to 12 arrows at any time. When I use them, and I can upgrade it to see how fast they like replenish, but they'll just magically replenish. To me, that is a great game mechanic because it keeps me in the game. And I don't have to worry about, I'm out of arrows. I got to find arrows, or I gotta make my arrows. I just want to. I love shooting arrows, and it's fun. Yeah, and I just don't want any annoying game mechanic.
Fun. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I would say that's a big selling point. The combat is fun.
Yeah, especially on story difficulty. I mean, once you can just mop the floor with everybody, it is nice.
You're like a god.
Literally.
I mean, I wanted to play this on easy just because I wanted there to be some challenge, but there were like what broke me was I think I was doing the Aphrodite stuff. I think I stayed on easy for most of the first section of the game, and then it got to a point where I'm like, I used up 8 health potions in one fight because I'm just like, I just wasn't doing good enough with the dodging and blocking where I'm like, this is not working for me. I need to lower the difficulty. That's what broke me.
So you guys probably beat the story, right?
Yeah, I finished it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm one of those people who it takes me years to complete an open world story. Before this episode, I was just like, all right, now I have a goal. I know exactly when the date is. I'm going to beat the story. And I kept getting distracted by the shrines and exploring. So I'm like, you know what? They can tell me if it's rewarding or not. Would you say beating especially Mike, because I know you have more Like, I already know Ian's already shown his card. He loves this game. But, like, do you now, after beating it, do you find it's one of those games where it's more about the journey than the destination? Or did you enjoy that final fight at the end? It's like, yeah, that was a good way to end this game.
Okay. Well, for one thing, this was weird this is gonna be weird to say. As I didn't like the puzzles, I loved the final dungeon puzzle for some reason. It clicked for me perfectly because it took a little bit of everything you already done and had you do it again but differently, and it made you remember stuff. And I liked it. I liked the ending of this game and going through in the final boss fights and what it was. But I'm also a guy who beats almost every single game I start.
Right.
There's only been a few games where I just, Breath of the Wild being one of them, where I just fall off and say, I am done. I cannot do this. But it's not often that I give up when I start something. That's why I'm also careful when I play. But no, I think it's rewarding to finish. I mean, the journey is the main thing of the game, especially if you don't care about the story. I mean, we'll spoil it as we talk because there's not much to the story. As you find out, well, no, okay, I'm just gonna spoil it right now. Spoilers if you care about Fenyx Rising story, which you don't. That's not why you're here. Anyone listening to this, you find out that your brother actually is working for the Titan, for the villain, this whole time.
Okay, I had a hunch that was going on because he makes his appearance.
He's working for him, and then you fight him, and then he realizes that he's being tricked by the Titan, and then you end up fighting. You fight the Titan that you've been seeing the whole game. Hey, he's the final boss. But they do a cool moment where each of the gods show up and help you in the fight in a different way. So they make it epic. So that was cool. And then you find out this whole time that this is the real spoiler, that you are the son of Zeus. So.
Oh, whoa! Didn't see that coming.
I didn't see it coming because they make a comment like, "Oh yeah, you're Hermes' child." I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's why he's helping you. But it turns out you're Zeus' child. And there's one like little quip that early in this game where Zeus is like, "Why can Phoenix pick up thunderbolts? Only I can carry thunderbolts. I don't understand." He's like, "Don't worry about it." That's
okay. I don't think any of that takes away. Like, I'm not. No, it's not. Darn. I think that's actually interesting. It actually makes the story a little more interesting now that there is a catch.
I mean, it is cool. I mean, I did have a good time with this game. I mean, I was annoyed at times, sure, but overall, like, I had a very good experience. I mean, this is not a game that you should play when you have like a 2-week time limit. Like, it's not made for that. And that's not the game's fault. That's a me thing. So I don't hold the game.
I played it over the Christmas period of 2020 into 2021, and every single year there's usually an Assassin's Creed game comes out around that time, and in this particular year it was Immortals Fenyx Rising. I've got that mental thing in my mind. I've got to get this done before I go back to work in January.
But see, you also weren't working. I was working.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I get that. I mean, that's just... And it was okay for that. It just, there were times where I would have liked not to feel rushed, but I still wouldn't have done all the dungeons. Even if I was playing this game pre-podcast, I would have just I would have lost interest in those dungeons quickly because the puzzles are just too much for me, personally.
I mean, it has a lot in it, though. I mean, it has a lot of fighting. Oh, yeah. It has a lot of things to collect. Like, I think I said this earlier, but like, if you see this game on sale for under $20, I think it's like...
It's worth it.
Great. Because you ever buy a game for like $70 and then 10 minutes, maybe the next day, you're like, shit, this is not worth full price. Like, I personally don't think I'm going to get that value out of this. But this game, I think the sweet spot would be if you see this for $20 or less, this is going to be very rewarding. You're going to get your money's worth. There's tons for you to do. I think it has a lot of charm in some manner, and then something it's like, I wish they didn't do that. But overall, I think we're all leaning on that there is a charm. There is something special here. It's a shame that Ubisoft won't be able to make a sequel to it, at least anytime soon. But maybe a cult following will get something. But I think if they spent more time with the art direction, maybe like really who is this for? What do we want to do? Like just give us a character, don't even let us choose. Just give us one character and let us fall in love with this character, this world, the music. But it was just, to me, as fun as it is, like everything that they did creative-wise as an IP, it's just like, well, what were you thinking? The name is not telling us anything. Like, it means nothing. Who's Phoenix? Immortals? Like, all that stuff. Like, it's not a fun name. The art direction is cute and it visually is stunning, at least on the new consoles, right? With the 60 frames. Like, it's beautiful, especially after playing like Tears of the Kingdom on Switch. It's just like, man, this is so much. Like, imagine if Tears of the Kingdom looked like this, But I don't know.
I
like,
wanted
there's some...
Phoenix to be Kid Icarus. I wanted to be Pitt.
Dude, why
That's
couldn't
what
this
went through
be...
my head when I first
Oh
saw this
my
game. I'm
God.
like, that should be Pitt.
Yeah.
Dude, could you imagine if they made Pitt this game? Oh, see, Mike, now you like that is...
Yeah, we're never
That
getting
is
that. But
genius.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, they could even made a
I-
clone of...
They made Kid Icarus Uprising, which I've yet to play and I want to, and I've heard bad things about it.
It was
Oh,
okay.
It's on my list to get to someday.
It was okay.
It just depends if I can play it on a PC or not. That's the big thing. Because I hate gimmick controls. That's why I hate the Wii so much.
You won't like it then.
Yeah, that's why I haven't played it.
Yeah. Although I can say with the idea of this being a potential IP, the Immortals something, for this potential second one, you can see it in a few years' time if they do decide to come back to this IP. I imagine a lot of the headlines are already writing themselves. Phoenix rises from the grave. Yeah.
I mean, the IP is there. It exists. It sounds like they're not going to do anything with it. But Ubisoft has a problem, I think, with this, where they are... Everybody makes fun of them, right? Like, oh, Zelda is so popular. And it's because there's, in like Elden Ring, it's so awesome because there's no icons. Ubisoft loads their games like Far Cry,
Watch Dogs.
and Watch Dogs. It's
Yeah,
just like Icon City. So you get to turn them all off. And I think, again, if this team would just take a step back and stop being so reactionary to the industry, it's like, why don't you friggin' lead for once? Like you did with Assassin's Creed back in the day, but you've been kind of riding that for the longest time. It's very formulaic. You kind of know what you're getting. Where at least Zelda games, they keep reinventing themselves. Mario, like Nintendo is really good at remaking their IPs in some capacity. Yeah. This just felt like let's literally just take Odyssey and smash it with Breath of the Wild. And it's so obviously, guys, you can't do that. You can't be DC and watch Marvel and say, let's just do what they're doing. It doesn't work. And the numbers show. And it's a shame because I think if they made a real character, they said Phoenix is a female, and we're just going to make this awesome character, and we're going to spend more time building out this world. I think they really could have had a hit here. It's a shame.
You need a character to market.
You do. And like, what's the theme song? There's some good tune. I was listening to this with headphones, and there's some really good jams on this game. I just can't remember the theme song, and I think you need to have a good theme song. You
just
got to have a banger hit.
I mean, I do like the fact that this game kind of had an order it wanted you to do it in, which I appreciate better than Breath of the Wild, and that's what also turned me off Breath of the Wild, that it wasn't like I didn't know what... Well, I have to play the game when I couldn't look up stuff, and I don't appreciate that. Because in this game, like for some of the puzzles, I had to YouTube a couple puzzles, because my brain was just like, I don't understand what... And as soon as I'm like, oh, that's simple. But it just wouldn't click sometimes, or I couldn't find certain things. There were a couple times. But
the fucking doors. I would hit it and it wouldn't open. And then I put the box back on the thing and it would open. And my 4-year-old's like, Daddy, just hit the button first. And then I'm like, oh my God, it was so easy. I was overthinking. They happened so many times.
Yeah, it's a game that makes you overthink for some reason. Like, yeah. Oh, did you guys run into, I'm assuming you both did, the legendary monsters that are like scattered throughout the realm?
Oh, yeah.
I like that a lot. I don't know what they did other than give me a lot of experience, but I enjoyed fighting them.
I think it was one of the quest lines later on. You have to beat so many legendary monsters. I can't remember exactly. I'm sure there was a trophy attached to it.
Probably. Yeah. I just killed everything I saw. If it was legendary, I'm like, oh, you got a health bar. You're dead.
Yeah.
I also really like how each region you go to, Ares, Aphrodite, Artemis, and what the hell is the other guy's name? I know it's not hepatitis, but it's close. I can't remember the black.
The hepatitis region. Nobody wants to go there.
But I do like how you fight. You have legendary heroes from Greek mythology that are now turned into like race that are hunting you. One is
yes,
Atlanta, Perseus. I think it's not Perseus. It's Odysseus, Hercules.
Yeah. Yep.
There's someone else. I killed all 4, and I really like that because their dungeons were really just combat heavy dungeons, and that was nice to me. You just went in, you did a quick puzzle, and you fought a boss.
That was a good game loop for me as well. I like that as well. Yeah, and that was a cool thing because, like, in Breath of the Wild, Ganon will reset the world, and all the monsters you killed off come back to life. And, like, the sky gets, like, dark red, and, Zelda starts talking about whatever. And, like, all right, it's creepy, but, like, nothing really happens except the monsters come back to life. In Phoenix, I thought it was really cool because, like, when Typhon reminded you he's, like, the main villain, he was like, yo, it's like, I am so mad at you. And then he, like, makes the sky like dark red and flames and everywhere, and it gets like kind of creepy with this cartoonish look. But then like he sends they're wraiths, right? Is that what they were? Like these? Yeah, and when I was playing it in normal mode, I got my ass kicked, and like it's like in the Matrix, like you see an agent, you do what we do, you run, right? And that's what I was doing. But then when I turned it to story mode, I'm not afraid of you anymore, and I just beat the hell out of them, and that was fun playing those. I like those. That was urgency.
Sorry, there's one thing I can't remember. When the raids arrived, did it actually pause the gameplay and go into a cutscene, or did it actually let you play through Typhon warning you?
I think it was just the first time it's a cutscene, and then after that, they seemed pretty random because I was doing like a puzzle on outside or something like that, and it just like attacked me out of nowhere.
I think it's random. I wouldn't be surprised it's based on something, but I didn't. Normally, what I like to do for these games, and I completely forgot to, is watch a Awesome Games Done quick commentary, and they'll say a lot of stuff that you wouldn't know otherwise. But I did not do that this time.
So that's something that's I couldn't quite remember whether it was a cutscene or whether it was playable, because in, like you said, Breath of the Wild,
it's playable
every single time. Is it
after the first time? It just you just start hearing him yell and taunt you, and then I'd be like, oh crap, and then I would go hunt the wraith and kill him. I just couldn't
remember whether it was playable, because in Breath of the Wild it's not. Every single time the red moon happens, you've got to listen to Sad Zelda doing that entire same monologue over and over again. And that's the one.
Yeah.
And every single time, all I could think was, what a horrible night to have a curse.
I know. It's just like, buzzkill. Like, let me just skip this.
Don't
I get
pause the game to tell me this. Just let me play it. Let me have fun.
Yeah, maybe the first time it's a cutscene, but because I had it happen to me a lot just for the course of... Well, it would only happen to me once each region, because then I would just kill the wraith and make it go away. Once I'm on story difficulty, because if you kill the wraith, it then points you out where their dungeon is, and I would just go murder them. Like, I don't want to deal with you ever again in this region.
Yeah, that's just one thing I couldn't remember. So it's been a while since I actually played it, but there's a lot still stuck in my mind, which is why I love it so much, really.
No, it's not a bad game. I mean, it's also a cheap-ass game. Like, this game is always on sale. I mean, that's a cheap-ass.
Okay. Then definitely get it if it's on sale. Absolutely. If you like Greek mythology, you have a more modern console, and you want to see a very beautiful game, like, it is definitely worth checking out, I think. Like, I would recommend it to people, especially if people had issues with Breath of the Wild's weapon breaking. If that literally stopped you from playing that game, but you want to get that experience, this is like next best thing, I would say, out there.
Absolutely.
So I bought this game for Switch for $10 at a random toy swap.
Oh, okay. So you played this on the Switch?
I didn't play that version.
Oh.
I bought it, and then I was like, and then on Steam it went on sale, or no, Fanatical went on sale for $20 for the whole collection with all the DLC. Yeah. So then I grabbed that, and I played it because I wanted to play on Steam Deck, but I was an idiot and forgot that Fanatical is Ubisoft and Ubisoft Store, not Steam. And it was, you can make Steam games, you can make Ubisoft games, EA games work on a Steam Deck, but I struggled with it because it's not as simple. And so I just played this on the laptops. I would have rather played this on the Steam Deck. It would have been more fun for me just to have the handheld and go.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's just to get back to but the thing is, though, this game is constantly on sale for like $10 for the main game on Steam and $20 for the all the DLC. And there's 3 DLC, which we won't go into on this, but there's a lot of games.
I'm tempted. Mm-hmm. So that big island, that big like snowy mountain region off in the distance, off of the main island, is that DLC?
No.
Is that part of the game?
Yes.
Oh, see, I haven't even gotten to a whole... Oh, you didn't like it?
It's the final area for when you climb to get to the mountain.
Yeah.
It stays clouded the entire time, and they introduced the part that made me really dislike this game. They introduced ice wind in areas where the game says, we don't want you to go here, so if you go here, you lose all your stamina and die. Don't go there.
Okay.
They do it often, so you have to climb. You have to go with the path they want you to go. It's a structure, but you go through that entire island that you see. You are wandering around there, following a path, and it was not fun.
Okay.
The only thing I'll say about the DLC, just one thing, is that if you are interested in it, the first DLC is just puzzles, so you might want to avoid that one.
All right, we're skipping that one on the show. All right.
Yeah. The second one, you still play as Phoenix in the first one, but it's on Mount Olympus and you just do lots and lots of puzzles. The second one, it's the same premise, but it's in ancient China.
It looks
and that's got its own story, its own main character, its own Chinese gods, and that's lovely.
That sounds awesome.
That is great. The third one, for some reason, it turned it into a top-down kind of Diablo thing, and I didn't enjoy it.
I saw like reviews of it, and I really, really want to play it. I almost did after this, but I'm like, no, you gotta play other games. Like,
But the second DLC, I think it was called Call of the Gods, the Chinese one. It's fantastic.
Okay.
That's pretty cool, though, that they took this game and said, what else can we do with it with the DLC? And like they like, hey, for the people who like the puzzles, here's more puzzles.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want another story, like here's Ancient China. I think that is such a cool move that they made it. They kind of thought about the different user types, right? And like, and then the last one is like maybe somebody that wants to do something totally different. They move the camera, even if it's not even that great. I still gotta applaud them, but I gotta applaud them to like take their engine and just say, hey, let's just move the camera and just keep the game that we have here more or less and just adjust it for like a different way of playing it. I gotta say, Ubisoft, that is pretty cool. It's just a shame that like this game didn't really get a huge audience, for them to be doing it, because they don't do that with Assassin's Creed. Imagine if they had a 4-player Assassin's Creed Diablo mode, like as an option. Like that's something pretty interesting there. But I'll probably check out the DLC.
Especially if you have it. I mean, I don't think I'd go out of my way, but for $20 for the whole collection, I was like, that's worth it.
And for me, it was a case of I've got the platinum trophy and now it's taken my 100% away. I've got to get that 100% back.
Well, I will give you an excuse to play those if you want to talk about them in the future. I need time to go away. But to go back to what Brandon was saying, no, I originally thought that other island was DLC too. I was not happy when I found out that I had to go and run across this entire island. It's all in clouds, so I can't see. And you have to follow set paths. You have to try to follow roads. You run into a couple like puzzles you have to do to progress. I got stuck at a part that was really pissing me off. I mean, I was getting mad. Where you had to fly up on a vent, essentially like air vent, and then glide over, but you barely have enough time because your stamina bar is dropping. And I didn't have I only did some shrines. I didn't have a ton of stamina.
Right.
And that was an issue. Like it was it was bad. I'm like, don't tell me I'm gonna have to go do other stuff in this game now. Like I'm not okay with that. And I got it, but you just had to you had to make sure as soon as you went up in the air, you started pressing forward, or I would not make it otherwise because I'd lose too much stamina.
Right.
And it's long. It's a very long part to get to that final, and it's not even the final area. Like you go there, and then the final area is that, which I thought is the volcano in the center is where the final dungeon boss is.
Yeah, the bit that gave me very Saints Row 4 Get Out of Hell kind of vibes.
I never played that, unfortunately.
There's another puzzle that we haven't really talked about. I actually like these ones now that I think about it. It's like you go to an area and there'll be like a grid, and it's these like little, I don't know. You basically put like these blue orbs in these things, and you have to put the blue orb in the right spot to match like the kind of the puzzle or the diagram in front of you. What I liked about those is it was a contained area. So in the middle of this area, you can look around like, okay, I know where I got to put the 4 or 5 orbs. And I can see 2 of them, and they'll have like a red lock. Red means bad usually, right? Like so, blue's usually good in this game. Well, enemy types are if it's blue, it's bad. But when it comes to puzzles, the coloring is a little bit weird there. But I love that moment where I can like, oh, there's mini puzzles surrounding me right now. It's kind of like if you ever do an escape room, you're in one area and you have all these things to like solve to kind of achieve, escaping the room or whatever. And this is like, I forget what you get rewarded. And do you remember? You probably did a lot of these. What is the, if you solve like those 5 orbs and get them and put them on this grid and match the pattern, like what do you get at the just like experience or?
Yeah, you've just hit the nail on the head for why I love those puzzles actually, because I love escape rooms. I'm absolutely addicted to them, and just having that central hub and then lots of smaller puzzle rooms coming off that central grid. And you've literally just hit the nail on the head as to why I love them so much. I think the reward was some ambrosia, but again, it's been a while.
Okay. Ambrosia is like the big currency that you use to upgrade your character?
Yes, for health.
Yeah.
For
Ambrosia's health.
Okay.
Zeus lightning bolts are for stamina. Coins of Charon or Sharon are for upgrading new abilities.
Okay.
Then there's all the different colored orbs, blue, red, purple, yellow, that you get from killing enemies that you use to upgrade your weapons and potions.
Oh, speaking of killing, I love the animation of killing monsters in this game. I love it. It never got old. You know how some games they have an animation and it just repeats. It's like, yeah, I've seen it, done that kind of thing. But like this game, there's nothing like beating a monster and just seeing it blast off in slow motion, barreling into the sky and just turning into like particles and it's just the animation on the creature deaths is great.
It was wonderful. Yeah.
It's very pretty. I mean, this game is very, very pretty.
No weather system though. You know how again Breath of the Wild and such, but like there's rain. You know, if you're wearing like metal armor, it'll get electrocuted, so you gotta take off your metal armor in that game. In this game, it's beautiful, but no rain.
You know,
No
you're
rain.
really not selling me on making myself play Breath of the Wild later this year, by the way.
Oh, you don't want to deal with that.
I don't have a choice now. I made it public.
The crazy thing is, I've just a couple of days ago got a brand new copy of Breath of the Wild from PlayAsia with the expansion packs on the cartridge. So I kind of feel like I have to play it again.
I have to, unfortunately. I want to do something big for our 5-year anniversary of this podcast. So I was like, what game can I do that's big that I need to do? So that's how Breath of the Wild happened.
Does it get bigger than that? I mean, do you guys play Skyrim? Do you like Skyrim as a style of open world?
No, I also never played Skyrim.
Oh, what?
I know. I played Oblivion, and I got all the achievements for it back in the day. I 1,000 pointed it, and I did everything, but I've never touched Skyrim.
And I'm in a similar position. I didn't get too far in Skyrim. When I played the Bethesda game, I played Fallout 3, and that was the Bethesda game for me. But Skyrim, I think, came at a very strange time, and I just couldn't get into it as much as I did Fallout 3 or even Morrowind back in the day. I don't know what it was about Skyrim, but it's still on my to-play list.
I only bring that up because like it's an open world, and it's like you can do the main quest or you can do whatever you want. But like
that's my problem.
One thing that I think this game, Immortals and Breath of the Wild and so forth, is they don't have inhabitants in the world. And that's one thing that when I play like Skyrim, like I might be like chasing a monster or doing a quest, but I might come across a village. And in that village, I don't know, just seeing people living in this world it's like something I always like in an open world game. And I wish I saw it more. And I wish this game had people in it. I know that wouldn't make sense because it's kind of like a world for the gods, but if there was some more inhabitants, if there's like soldiers that you come across in Immortals, but like you barely come across them in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And when you do it, it is nice and refreshing. But I wish like this game had some kind of, even if it was like lesser gods, like small demigods or something like that like lived here. I just wish there was more of a living, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I won't say living world, but like, people living in it other than just like animals and gods. Like, I feel like there was an opportunity to like have some side quests just from characters. I don't know, because like Ubisoft does that. They make villages all the time in their Assassin's Creed games. So that's one thing I kind of wish that they had in this. But
it's a really good point. I've not thought about that. I mean,
I didn't think about it either. I didn't mind it because they have to do fetch quests or things, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, story-wise, it makes sense that all the inhabitants have been turned, all the humans, mortals have been turned to stone. But you're absolutely right that there could have been more gods or demigods there. Even if it was in a kind of more Elden Ring kind of setting where you just sparingly come across NPCs and they say something cryptic. But you're right, there's no very little interaction with any characters other than the main quest.
Oh, and Brandon, you also find out who turned everybody to stone is not who you think it was.
It wasn't Aphrodite, was it? Oh.
But I mean, I always thought it was like Typhon did it. You find out it's Zeus that did it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You also find out that Prometheus had Typhon, or had Atlas, one of the other Titans, break out Typhon, and it was a whole thing. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have to finish the story over time, like.
Oh, yeah, no, don't play this game in a week or 2 weeks like that. I mean, just eventually get to it because it's definitely worth. I mean, again, it's hard for me to say because I finish almost every game I start just because. But I think it's worth a playthrough. It's worth finishing it up and just say, okay, I beat the story, I'm done, and never go back to it.
I mean, I must be like 50, 60 hours into Tears of the Kingdom. I'm like 30 hours into Breath of the Wild. I had to really force myself through that 30 hours with Tears of the Kingdom. It really hooked me. All the things that I had issues with, they solved in Tears of the Kingdom. Right. And I would say if you love that game, and a lot of people do, and you're looking at this game like, but I want to play Greek mythology. It's on sale. Is it worth it? It's definitely worth it. It's definitely going to satisfy you with the gameplay, the visuals. I think the puzzles are genuinely good. And sometimes like we were talking about those blue orbs or like shooting the arrow, like those are really fun. Yeah. In me, who's like so deep into Tears of the Kingdom, I was afraid that like, man, I want to talk about this game. I want to say it's worth playing. I want to, get on Mike's podcast and talk about this game. But am I going to have this reaction now going back to it after playing Tears of the Kingdom? and be like, this game sucks. Thank God I didn't. The only thing that jarred me is if you play Tears of the Kingdom, there's a brilliant thing they added where it's like there's like the main level world, there's the depths under the map, there's a whole map underneath the main world, and then there's also a whole map up in the sky. And when I played Tears of the Kingdom, you start up in the clouds in the sky, right? And you're like, it looked like they saw Immortals, and it's like, man, that art direction is kind of fun. Let's steal some of that Greek mythology, right? So it's weird because I think there's some kind of, in some capacity, they had to influence the art direction for Tears of the Kingdom. But like,
oh yeah, I can see that.
But like, when you go from Tears of the Kingdom to this game, the one thing that is kind of weird is how you look at the beautiful sky in the game and you can't do anything. Where in Tears of the Kingdom, I can at any time look up and see a hovering platform or something, and like I can explore the skies. And I'm thinking, man, now if they were to make a sequel to this game, they would have to do that, because think about Greek mythology, like the gods of because gods are like gods of things, right? There's gods of water, gods of fire, and all that stuff. Like, imagine if they got to make the sequel, the Immortals would have had something to do with like levels, like platforming in the sky, and then they would have had some cool, like Hades would have been hanging out with you in the underground and like doing that. It's a shame that this game won't have the proper sequel that it should get, because I think seeing Tears of the Kingdom now, even though I'm kind of picking on Immortals for copying Breath of the Wild, but I think that if they had a chance to copy Tears of the Kingdom and like really take their time, give us a real character, maybe make it a little bit more mature, like they could have a massive hit, because some of us want to play those games, like Zelda games. We just hate the combat in it, and like this game could have been for the people who are like, yeah, how about that? But just with our fighting mechanic instead. So I don't know. I just keep thinking about what could have been with this franchise.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just lamenting that sequel that should be, but just won't. And just thinking about all the things that, like you say, in that back and forth between Ubisoft and Nintendo, it's like, we can do this. Oh, we can do that better. Oh, we can do this. I'm looking for that next step now. It's like, okay, we can do this. But if it's not going to be Immortals, it's going to be something else that takes that next step. But I would have loved it to be in Immortals too.
We'll get a sequel, I think, at some point, just not soon. But I think at some point.
Or Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Okay, I don't think this will be in hiatus. That's never happening. That's okay. Beyond Good and Evil is not a good game, so I don't like it.
It is not. I tried playing it. I'm like, boring.
Same. I beat it, actually, because me. I haven't done it for this podcast yet. I've been meaning to, because I want to see if my opinion has changed since I beat it before, but I have to play it then, and I don't want to, so.
I got halfway through it and switched off.
But no, I know people love that game. But no, Beyond Good and Evil 2 never happening, guys. Like that game's over with. I remember when I worked at Target, and I remember seeing we had like laptop screens set up or something, and one of the trailers was showing Beyond Good and Evil 2, and this was back in 2009. Yeah. We are now in 2023. It's not happening.
No. So. That's a shame.
Say never. We said never about Alan Wake 2, and that's a month away from releasing. So
yeah, but that wasn't 20.
Follow me there.
Yeah, maybe. I think Ubisoft is not gonna. But
Ubisoft is so weird. Like when you play this game, it makes you wonder, like, what is going on with Ubisoft? Because again, I think we said that like in the first 30 seconds of this episode. It's just like you can't not see Assassin's Creed and Breath of the Wild when you play this, and it's just like when I look at Ubisoft and the history they have with their games. If you played Far Cry 2 or 3, you've played Far Cry 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. If you played Assassin's Creed, like they're very formulaic.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that in Assassin's Creed.
I'm okay with it too, but like when you create a new IP, make a new IP, and I just feel like Ubisoft has a lot of IP. They do have a lot of IPs. They have The Division, right? They have like Tom Clancy games, correct? Isn't that them?
Yeah, Ubisoft.
So like they have the ability to make new IPs. It's just weird that when they made this one, it was such a hybrid mix, and it's maybe it's just my own thing. I haven't hung up this whole conversation. It's just if they would have just not relied on reacting to what Nintendo was doing, and it's just like you guys are really good at making your own games. Own this and go and make it. Don't make a clone of Nintendo.
But also, Breath of the Wild was one of the best-selling games of all time.
I know, but it's hard to clone other people's success.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't just chase those fads, can you? Otherwise,
no.
You're going to be in the same situation where every single game is Fortnite again.
Yeah, Battlefield's trying to be Call of Duty, and it's not working. And it's almost gone away. Like, Battlefield used to be its own thing, and it's like trying to... And I said earlier, like DC sees the success that Marvel's having with their movies, and they're not having the same success. And it's because you're trying to do something different. Like, what could you do? Like, to me, I always tell people DC should just make super villain origins and build up to your Thanos' Batman. So build up those villains to be like fall in love with Joker, the Riddler, Poison Ivy, fall in love with all those characters. So that way when they fight Batman, you're torn. Because it's the same thing with these heroes. Like, I kind of get Thanos, but like he is the bad guy. Like there's I just see these people like kind of copy, like, okay, Ubisoft, what could you have done? Maybe you're a bad guy. Instead of being a hero, maybe you're a bad guy. Make it interesting, do something different. But again, they I don't know. This game is like frustrating. It's fun to play, but like I get frustrated with like the creative decisions that they made.
That's completely fair.
Mm.
To go on the other on your last thing on that point with Marvel, even Marvel is not doing the Marvel thing isn't working anymore either. But that's just the time.
Now they're just
it's too much.
They're doing.
People are just kind of, I think, tired. Well, Thor: Love and Thunder is complete utter garbage, but that's.
I haven't seen it yet, and I want to just to see what the hell
okay, you
happens.
should see it just to see it. Ant-Man is fine. The rest are good. I will say that the rest, besides Ant-Man, Thor: Love and Thunder, Eternals is okay. It's just it is.
I like the Eternals actually.
I did too, but it wasn't anything special.
Right.
I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
That was good. Yeah.
That was good, but that's Guardians. Like they kind of had that trilogy.
Well, 2 was garbage.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
2 wasn't bad.
And
I hate 2.
like
You
you
can listen
say,
to my review on
Immortals
the
had done its own thing. We could have been in a different situation now. We could have been on Immortals 3 by now.
Oh, I right. You're unfortunately you're not that far off because it is Ubisoft. So, but I do want to talk about like how each of the gods that you're rescuing have been turned into different things. Where Aphrodite turns into a tree, Ares is a rooster, Hephaestus is a golem, and Athena is just a child. And I love how like you have to interact with them while they're in this other being type of thing, and then they're reacting, according to what they are. I really like that. I thought that was a good way of doing it.
It was a really nice idea, and again, even the characteristics that came out when they were in those new forms, like the child Athena was, constantly running away from you and taunting you. The Ares chicken was getting a few Bagok jokes in there now and then. What the Bagok's going on here? And it was just really, really clever stuff.
I really liked it. I did enjoy the back and forth with the characters in general. I enjoy how Hermes is just here all around helping you from time to time, but not really helping you at times. Like it fit the gods.
Yeah, I think the gods are the highlight when it comes to the story and the creativity they went with. Even though I'm not that, I wish it was more mature, but I think I said this earlier, Ares was my favorite. There's a build up to him when he reveals himself and he's like a friggin' rooster. It's great.
You think he's the bear at first?
Yeah.
I like that. I like how they trick you. They're like, oh, that bear, you see a bear, like, oh, that magnificent creature must be Ares. And then he turns out he's the rooster. The bear's just working for him.
And again, the bear gets some of the best scenes as well. He's just there giving a quick glance in some cutscenes and just says everything that you're thinking.
It was fun. I mean, the way you upgrade, we talked a little bit about, but like you have to go to one place to do all your upgrades. That I don't really care for, but it's fine because it's easy to you just warp there all the time, and you're supposed to warp back, do your thing, and then warp back somewhere. I mean, there's not as many open world warp points I would have liked, but that's fine. It was enough.
Yeah, that's something that I'm kind of concerned about, having played the demo of Lies of P. Having to walk back to the central area to do the upgrades and then walk back.
Is Lies of P the...
I think they've changed that for the full release.
The Bloodborne looking game? Right? I don't keep up on new games because I don't get.
I don't watch trailers anymore because I'm tired of things being ruined for me. I just know that there's hype for that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about it, and I know it's coming out in Game Pass soon.
I did watch half an hour of Gamescom though this time on Twitch, sort of, but that was because Marvel Snap had a deal where you had to watch half an hour of it with your Twitch account link, so you then get a free variant. So I did that.
Okay. So, let me ask you guys a question then. So, for this game, Immortals, right? What do they do in the middle of the map? They have a big volcano, right? Yes. Looks just like another game we've been talking about. Now, but when you get these upgrades, it's a constant game loop, right? Like, okay, I have to upgrade my character. I have to leave the northwest corner, the northeast corner, like whatever. I have to go to the southwest corner every time to upgrade. And I think that's weird because it's like, even though that's the first area that you have unlocked, why the hell didn't they just put that in the middle of the map? Again, they were cloning basically Breath of the Wild when they did this, But like, if you're telling people every time they have to upgrade, make that the middle of the map, because that way when I make my upgrade, I can jump and fly back to where I was. But now I have, it's just a very weird decision.
It made perfect sense, but southwest is where the starting plateau was in Breath of the Wild, so...
I thought it was in the middle, like south, I guess. But, well, either way, I thought that was... I don't know. I felt like upgrading going there every time.
The point of it is that you will always be getting... Like, you're supposed to like get to a point where you unlock a fast warp travel, then you go back and do your thing and warp back to where you were. I think that's the idea of what they were trying to get you to do.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go back. I mean, I didn't go back that often. I mean, near the end of the game, I had a ton of upgrades I never used, so I just didn't give a shit anymore. Plus, I didn't do the story difficult.
The fast travel, I think, could have been better in Immortals, because in Tears of the Kingdom, I know once I find a shrine or beat a shrine or temple or whatever, a lot of those landmarks I can travel to. And I feel like in Immortals, I can only go to each of the areas like giant statues of a god or the Hall of Gods. I think there's only like 5 or 6 spots you can actually fast travel to.
There's not a ton.
There's not a ton, right? Maybe there's a dozen or something like that. But
there's more. So yeah, I mean, there's more than what you're saying, but there's not. You have to find them too, and they don't show you. They don't show them on the map. You actually just have to run across things and kind of find them. Because I know I found a few by accident.
Okay.
Yeah, and
they're not what you think.
I respect the fast travel systems in games, but I think you've got to find an alternative way of traversal as well. I think Tears of the Kingdom does it well, that you can make bizarre vehicles to traverse from one place to another. If going from one place to another is not fun and just warping there is the best way, then I think there's something missing, especially after Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. You can fast travel in that, but it's so much more fun to swing about.
I forget what they call that game mechanic, where it's like the interruption mechanic or something like that, where like I think Skyrim has done it masterfully, right? You're like trying to do a quest, and all of a sudden it's like a vampire will come out and attack you out of nowhere. It's like, do you want to do this quest or not? Like, no, I'll just kill a vampire and ending her. Or like some other wizard might come up and like ask you to like help. Like you can totally ignore it. Like the quests come to you, and they do that in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and then Resident Evil, Red Dead Redemption 2. I think their big thing was we're going to still have the interruptive loop, but they slowed it down so like it happens half the time as much as another game would do it. So with that game, it's slower pace in general, and that also doesn't have many fast travel. I think this game also could have benefited from some interruptions, where like I'm trying to do a quest, but like if I want to like save that person from being attacked or like there's a quest here that kind of came at me rather than me seeing it. I think that would have been interesting if this game did something like that. But
okay. I mean, you kind of have the race, but I know what you mean. Like, it would have been cool that, because the quest, I didn't really, like, they would tell you where they are, but it wouldn't completely tell you where to go. Like, it would give you the area, and you gotta like, figure it out, and I did not like that, personally.
Mm-hmm.
But you're in a quest area, and it was just kind of like, you're just in the, I'm like, no, I want to be like Ubisoft game. I want to know exactly where I'm supposed to go. Like, give me my pointer.
Yeah.
I'm more like that.
I like when I hear somebody yelling help, right? And I have the ability to say yes or no. Like, help me. I'm like, okay, like, I see you. You're like trapped.
Well,
yeah.
In Red Dead 1, when they do it, usually, if they're yelling help me, you don't want to help them because they're going to shoot you.
Oh, my God, dude. I know. Every time I was trying to help somebody, and all of a sudden these cannibals came out and killed me. And I'm like, well, that's what I get for being a nice guy.
Oh, yeah, in Red Dead 1,
helping people.
I did it for the show earlier this year. That we were talking about it. It was like, we learned pretty quick. Like, they yell help, just start shooting. Don't. They ain't looking for help.
But what is that doing, Mike? It's creating a mini story that happened to you. Because like, if the game is always making set pieces, like if you touch this area of the map, cue the cutscene, cue the quest, and like, okay, that's fine. That's like the game holding my hand. But sometimes people like it when like did that happen on its own? Did I start it? Like. So I feel like if a game says, like, throw something at me, it seems that I have the story to, like, well, last time I helped this person, like, it didn't really work in my favor, but it creates a story that you can go to tell somebody, like, oh, dude, I was playing Immortals Rising, and, like, I don't know, these women were, like, leading me to, like, this island to help them. I didn't know that they were sirens, and then, like, I lost all my gold because they were, like, stealing from me, and I didn't know, and, like, there's like cool. A story there, that I could have said no to, but I didn't, and I fell for it. And I think this game could have also benefited from like having those moments where I was like, you got me on this one.
No, okay, yeah, it would have been nice to have some random element. There's nothing random to it.
Yeah.
I didn't like picking up you have to pick up so many different items, like so many mushrooms and things that you're in different plants to make the potions. I mean, that's fine. It felt like a Breath of the Wild, they were copying that again.
It's like an RPG thing.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. Like, because that's also why I switched to story difficulty, because I got to a point where I had to go farm potions. And that's why that's actually the real reason why difficulty went to story. I'm like, I got to farm pomegranates now? Nope, story. We're done. We're not doing that again.
Right. You probably don't play craft games, do you?
No, but I also didn't have time where I wanted to run around and hack down trees.
I'm with you, dude.
I was like,
I don't think that's fun.
Well, if I was playing the game, like I was exploring it and I didn't have a time limit, I'm just like, this is just my game to play until I move on to the next thing, not you have a timer ticking away. I mean, again, personal issue created by me. But so that made me, but also I had more fun when I had story difficulty. I mean, the combat, I want to touch a little bit of combat. I think the combat's fun. I think the dodging, the blocking, I think it's all really good. The way the weapons, you get new weapons as you do dungeons and as you explore the game, you'll get more. I did like that. I thought that was all well done.
Oh, that was well done in the armor. I like every time I got a new helmet or like I got to see what I look like, and that was a great loop in this game.
Cosmetic it too, so you can wear a helmet that you think looks cooler with having the effect of something else.
Yeah, dude.
So that was nice they did that.
Yes, that is cool as well. Yes, I like that.
I looked up YouTube and it told me what great equipment to get early in the game, and I just got that and I stuck with that the whole game.
Oh, okay. Which was?
It was like purple armor that was spiky.
Yep, I got that one.
It's supposedly one of the best ones in the game. I mean, there's better armor, but I wasn't doing
with your stamina. I think it like rewards you or something like that with your stamina.
It does triple damage in certain parts and stuff like that.
And even the armor you can upgrade too, which is really cool. I mean, everything in this game you can upgrade. I think it's like if you played Ubisoft games, like you can upgrade your character. You're going to get that in this game, and they are worth it. Which to upgrade, you got to go, explore the world and do the things. So like that all works. It works very well, actually. Like sometimes I found myself over this week when I was playing, I would just be obsessed with like cutting down those trees because you'll see like something glowing in some of the trees. And if you cut it open, you get the sapper. No, it's
golden.
Sap.
I think it's called golden amber.
Thank you. Yes. Right. So like collecting those to make the upgrade like that, it got me pretty good. I wasn't rushing it because I knew I wasn't going to beat the story, but I was just like, yeah, this is fine because I really want to get that upgrade because I saw in the upgrade tree that, and like that would be really fun if I had that. So that game loop is rewarding in this.
Oh, the other thing that broke me with the difficulty, that why I had to switch it, was when you're in like a shrine world, like a dungeon world where the game is different, it's just a platformer. Every time you fall, you lose health. But if you have story difficulty on, you don't lose health.
I noticed that.
So you can keep trying, and not feel like, oh shit, I need to use a potion because I'm gonna die and get kicked out of here. So that's another reason why I went to story difficulty and stuck with it, because of that. It made it where I could experiment more with the puzzles. Where I'm like, okay, can I make this jump? Nope, I can't. Can I make this jump? Nope, I can't. I could experiment and not worry about it, where before I'm like, I can't experiment.
That's blown my mind because I played it on normal and didn't know anything about story mode having no fall damage.
Also, your health will constantly refill where in the other difficulties, and easy it does up to the bar you're at, but it only goes so far and on story it just refills completely, which is also nice.
Okay.
Story mode needs to be in every video game. I'm sorry, but it does. Oh, yeah. Like whenever I find it in the game, I'm like, thank God, because like I'm invested in the story. I've logged like multiple hours, but like I'm kind of getting burned out. But I want to, and a lot of us want to kind of finish where we started if we can. And if there is the option to turn on a story mode, like I'm good.
And you can do it. You can change difficulty at any point in this game too, which I give kudos to this game.
Oh yeah. Oh, they don't punish you if you do this. It's gonna blue. Yeah.
They have a lot of, which I don't play a lot of really new games in general. Well, I mean, you can just look at my, what I play on this podcast. And This game did something that I also really appreciate. It had a lot of adapted features. That's probably a thing nowadays to, like I had a thing turned on by accident where the game would constantly narrate options, armor. Like I didn't know how to turn it off, but I appreciated it was there because it would help if I, couldn't read. So I appreciate that it was there.
There's a lot of accessibility options in a lot of games these days, and I appreciate that.
It was nice. Because I turn on subtitles immediately every game I play.
Oh, subtitles always have to be on. And I can't remember what game it was I was playing recently where it had options for size of subtitles, whether the subtitles have a black outline around them. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, as I get older, I watch movies and games with subtitles.
Mhm.
It's tough because the only thing that's bad about subtitles, especially when you're watching a movie, a game not so much, but when you're watching the movie, it's just like the director films every frame of that movie. They want you to see every frame of that movie. And I feel bad because like I'm not paying attention to maybe like that key focus that they want me to have because I'm reading constantly on the bottom. You know, my eyes are down here instead of up there kind of thing. And that is one thing that like it kind of bums me out when I do subtitles, but I do it for everything. I need to hear. Well, it's not even that. Like I don't blast my sound, but like I just need to hear what they're saying, you know, and stuff. So I have to now read it.
I don't want to feel like I missed anything.
Yeah, and I hate when video games. This game doesn't do it, but I hate when video games do this, where they must have made the game originally for PC users, so the monitor's like right in your face. But when you port it to a console, people are on couches. They are not on their TV. So I might be like a good 8-10 feet from my TV, and you have small text. I can't read it. Oh my God. And I feel like an old man. I mean, I am getting older, but man, I'm like, I got to get off of my couch, walk over and like, oh, okay. So it does double damage. Okay. I couldn't read that. And then, you know, like, just let me have control over the subtitles.
Yeah. It's a little thing just for ease of play and to keep the player engaged. And it's one of my biggest bugbears. And I rant about this on Twitter quite regularly. Games these days that don't pause when your controller's out of charge. That's one of my biggest
Yeah. It took me a while to get used to the menu in this game where like if you tap select, it takes you to your character's inventory, but I'm mostly just trying to look at the map. And I was like, man, why do I have to hit select and then left bumper to go over to it? Like, and then I realized, oh, you can hold down select and then that will load up the map right away. But it wasn't intuitive to me.
Yeah, it's a very strange choice. I mean, it took me forever on one of the first PlayStation 5 games I played where, or was it 4? I can't remember. One of the Assassin's Creed ones anyway, where I was looking everywhere for a map button and then found out, oh, you push the touchpad in the center of the controller. It took me forever.
I'm always just pausing the game and looking at the map, looking at my inventory, looking at my experience. That was one thing I was just like, why can't I just go to the map? But yeah, if you hold down to select, it'll do the same, which is, I think, I don't know, quality of life thing. Pro tip for you.
Did it actually start by accident when I meant to hit select?
Did it actually inform you that you can do that? Or is that something that could have been told in a tutorial or instruction manual? Heaven forbid we get one.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like, you ever play a game and then you take a break and you go back to it and you're like, oh my God, I don't remember the little things like holding down select. It's not intuitive. It's like very specific to that game, where Red Dead 2 also does that. Like you have to hold down the menu button to load up the map. And I think when you're going in and out of games like me, some of those things like you got to be careful with, because I forget, oh, I can do this thing. It's only in this game, but like it's not intuitive and there's no way for me to know because they told me that, you know, in the beginning of the game and I'm like 25 hours into it. So like, how do I do that again?
Why there's certain games you can't put down when you start.
Right. I heard Elden Ring's one of those games. Somebody was telling me. I've never played it.
Any Souls game. Like if you start a Souls game, you need to commit, because if you put it down, your skill's gone.
I don't play them.
You can't
It's
stop.
too hard. Okay.
Elden Ring was something else. That was an absolutely incredible experience. But I had a very similar thing earlier this summer playing Final Fantasy 16, which I enjoyed, and then going straight into playing Ys 9 Monstrum Nox straight afterwards. And all the controls from one game to the other were totally the opposite way round. So I'd start playing Ys 9 and think, oh, a monster, attack. Oh, no, that's the menu button. What do I press? Which button isn't crouch?
Or like when you play a similar game, or like this game, and then like Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. It's like, wow, they're very similar. They're doing there's some changes, but they're pretty similar. But like the run is in a different spot, you know, or like, so I kept fumbling my controls, where like in Breath of the Wild or in Tears of the Kingdom, I just hit like, you know, like the jump button or whatever in the sky. And then like that lets me fly. But in this game, it's like, it's weird. You have to hit, I think, the jump button, and then you got to hit the boost button, and they're all over the place. And I kept fumbling my controls. After like a few minutes, you get that muscle memory back. But I was just like, man, like this is just not intuitive. I kept fumbling my controls in this game a little bit. But once you start playing, you get the hang of it. You know, like how do you get on a horse? Oh, well, you just hold down the Y button or triangle or whatever, and like that's how you pull up the horse. And it's just like I could not remember how to do that for the life of me.
I never used the horse. I didn't like it because it couldn't fly. I got a Pegasus at one point because I got it as a reward, and he couldn't fly. And I was like, "Fuck you, game."
God, are you serious? I feel like that should be like a legendary thing that if you spend like 10 hours doing a quest, you get Pegasus so you can fly around the...
Can't fly.
That sucks.
That's when it went away. I never used it again. I was pissed.
So it's just a skin.
I'm like, what? I can't fly. I mean, it's Pegasus. It has wings. I can't, like, what? I can't jump. I can't glide.
The most famous horse. Yeah.
I was done. Because it's just a horse.
Yeah, that's lame. But like Pegasus is like the most famous horse. Maybe more famous than Mr. Ed, right? Like that's the horse that can fly, man.
You caught my joke there too. Thank you. So yeah, no, that kind of broke me on the mount stuff. I didn't like that. I mean, there's the stealth mechanics of this game too, but I didn't really use it ever. There's also Phosphorus, which we haven't talked about, the Phoenix bird that you can get.
Oh yeah,
which is
kind of from Assassin's Creed, dude.
Oh, it is from Assassin's Creed. I haven't played anything since 4, so I was like, I don't catch stuff that.
Right after Unity, they kind of rethought about like the fighting mechanics in Assassin's Creed. So you got Odyssey, and the one before that was the one in Egypt. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Origins, yeah, and then Ragnarok, I think, or whatever, the Valhalla. So those characters all have a bird that hovers over you, and this game totally just took that with it, and I love that mechanic. I love when I have pets in a game. I wish there was more than just a steed that I can ride and a bird that can fly around me. I would love to, like, maybe I don't have a bird, but maybe I get something that like a wolf that fights next to me or something like that. Like again, like this game, if they ever got to do the sequel, like I feel like they could totally imagine the bear of Ares going with you, right?
Yeah.
Like hey, if you do this quest, he will be your pet. If I could have pets going with me into like battles, I don't know. There's something there, And maybe
telling us you want to play World of Warcraft as a hunter.
I never got into World of Warcraft, but I know that there's pets in it.
But I know that the hunter does that.
Okay, because like Tears of the Kingdom, if you help these like guardians, they give you a spirit version of themselves, and it's basically just like a person that just follows you around, and they have their own abilities, and you can use their abilities too. So you can have a party in Tears of the Kingdom, which I think is great in an RPG because you should be able to recruit people. I think a recruiting mechanic could have benefited this game as well. But I think they might just rebrand this and just maybe take some of the things they learn and say, all right, we really do need to figure out how to make a Breath of the Wild clone, but let's do it maybe with a different IP,
It was also just a bad IP name, Immortals. Because, I mean, there's another game that just came out from EA called Immortals. Like,
yep.
It was a word you can't copyright. Like, you can't copyright letters, like the letter X, for example, for no reason at all.
So dumb.
So, like, you don't name your something that you don't want to name your IP something that can just be used by other people because there's no copyright.
Immortals is kind of a generic, and Phoenix means nothing. It's just a bad title. It's a bad name. I think it's unfortunate that they couldn't go with like, what was it, Gods and Monsters or something like that.
Yeah, I think they had a bit of trouble with
energy drink.
Monster energy drink. Yeah,
this is bull. That's bull. Like, come on. How
Fear Effect on the PS1 had trouble with Fear Factory, the band, because they wanted to call it Fear Factor originally, and Fear Factory said no.
Okay.
Fear Effect. I can't believe I played that game for this podcast, by the way.
Wow.
Fear Effect.
Wasn't my idea. It was when I had other co-hosts, and they're like, hey, we should cover this. I'm like, okay. But yes, I played that stupid game.
I enjoyed that one a lot.
I did not. I never played the second one, though.
Second one was great, if you like the first one.
I didn't like the first one.
Then you
I didn't play the second. Or any last things you guys want to say about Fenyx Rising before we go on to questions, comments, or memories?
Play it. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worth playing, especially if it's
I'm actually
always on
going to gift the copy I bought for Switch to my son because I was going to buy this for my son when I was with him last, and he's like, I'm like, wait, I'm like, hey, you can pick out a game, like, he's 15, and I'm like, well, you should, this is good. I'm like, Fenyx Rising is good. He's like, he just ignored me and he's like, I'll buy it. He's like, can you give me Donkey Kong? I'm like, sure.
Well, I think if you're a fan of Greek mythology, I think that was like the main draw for us.
Yeah.
And I think it will deliver. Like, you might have issues with the puzzles, you might have issues with the humor, but you won't have issues with like the visuals, and it does scratch that Greek itch. Like, it's just fun meeting these characters and stuff like that. Maybe more monster types, but Other than that, like I can't really complain with what's in the world. Like it felt very like, yeah, this feels like Greek mythology, which makes me want to play that DLC with ancient Chinese mythology because I watched a movie called Spirit of the West or Journey to the West rather.
Journey to the West. You did a podcast about it.
Yeah, and like
I listened to.
yeah, and like wow, Chinese mythology is all very interesting as well. So I think if a video game can open my eyes to it, I'd be definitely down for it. And I think this game, oh my God, imagine if they just kept going with like all other, mythologies with this. They could have had something very special.
A bit like how God of War seems to be doing.
Yeah, where he's going into other religions. It's clever.
Well, if you want to do the DLC, just let me know because I'll gladly have an excuse to play it. I just need to wait a little bit of time, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Like
I'll play it again
next summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I might not wait that. Well, yeah. There's probably wait that long. I got enough shit going on. But okay. Now I know who. I will bug you guys when we come back to that. But I'm ready to install this 50 gigabyte game again. All right. So I did get a few questions, comments, and memories. We'll go to that once I can get the right tabs on my phone. All right. First for me, I watched the entire Orblood Super Replay from Lucas Harris. One of the very few games I managed to get the platinum for. I'm bummed the sequel was canceled.
Yeah.
I am too. Even I wouldn't have touched it for years. From Henry Chan, the DLC focusing on Chinese mythology was really cool, which the whole game had been that. One thing that differentiates the story a lot is that the main god is very parental. She tries to restrict the hero in the hub for his own safety. All right. From Star, friend of the show, how does this make you feel? I mean, she posted a screenshot of the canceled Immortals thing that inspired by Elden Ring and Wind Waker, multiple island Polynesian archipelago, more realistic visuals, no checklist open world. Yeah, it bums me out.
Give me that game.
Yeah.
From Autumn Sevier, didn't play much of it. I picked it up for similar reasons and didn't dislike what they were trying to do, but I told myself I'm playing bite-sized chunks and ended up just not picking it up. Hand pain with DualSense didn't help too. I can get that. And from the official Laser Time community, I got a couple. From Jamie Leah, there was a really good game in there, but it was buried under constant requests to buy extra shit. About the time the world map started directing me to objectives that were glorified DLC ads, I walked away. I didn't have that, but I did see microtransactions.
Yeah, the microtransactions were there, but I also didn't have that experience of it being constantly bombarding you. But
It could be because we played it later and they were embarrassed to patch it out, kind of.
Maybe.
Because I didn't get asked once to buy anything. I do have the $20 pack that had all the DLC, so that could be it.
I guess I do not have any issues with microtransactions in this game, and I hate when that happens in a game. But maybe that person could revisit it now.
I mean, I wouldn't be. I could see it. Example, Battlefront 2 when that came out, or was it the first Battlefront?
No,
one of them where
EA
tried to just put them everywhere for you to trick you and to force you.
You want
to
Vader?
buy.
Yeah, of course I want to play Vader. Well, you gotta pay for it. What do you want, Han Solo? Yeah, all right. It's like it's going to cost $1,000 to get the original cast of Star Wars. What is wrong with you, EA? So they learned their lesson. The whole industry learned their lesson through EA on that one. But I never once had an issue with
so maybe it was just a time and place thing.
With this.
Like maybe they patched it out because I know there were microtransactions because I saw stuff about it, but I had to go in a menu to another menu to find it. It was never trying to trick me.
Yeah.
Like
maybe that's a start screen problem at the moment, isn't it? Where it's new game, load game, buy.
Yeah.
That's why you wait until years later and buy the game of the year version or something.
Exactly. That's how I buy my single player games. Absolutely, because you're gonna get it patched out. You're gonna get Yep. I'm with you on that.
So I feel bad for her that she had that experience because it wasn't like that for us. So if you're listening to this, you should go back and try it again because I think they fixed that. Or we had the collection because I bought it cheap and I didn't have to worry about that. I don't know. From Armando Valdez, the game was legit fun. I refer to it as Breath of the Wild Light. Some of the puzzle work was a bit tedious, especially the DLC, but overall very enjoyable. If you love to find everything on the map that Ubisoft does, then you'll love this.
I think that comment's just summed up everything that we've said in the 45 minutes.
And from Eric Fijozerk, I was absolutely shocked at how good a time I had with this. I played it shortly after I got to mess around with Breath of the Wild. I didn't have a Switch, so this kind of filled that need. It still felt like a lot of Assassin's Creed type gameplay at times, but it did enough interesting and fun things that I was okay with it. Great game for the price it goes for now.
That's a great review.
Which is cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, Ubisoft games are always cheap. You never should buy a Ubisoft. Well, sorry,
never.
Ubisoft, but you shouldn't buy a game when they come out because they'll be cheap in a year. easy.
Easily, yep.
A lesson I will never learn.
So, hey, I mean, if you enjoy them, nothing wrong. I mean, I'm a guy who has way too many games to play, and I don't even pay attention to new games ever. Like, I don't care. I'm so
This
far
year,
behind.
Mike, is like this year's probably the greatest year in video games because like almost everything that's coming out, even though it's like a sequel, right? They're all good. And like, yeah, you'll never be done with this podcast.
That's fine. I mean, I'm honestly hoping to do this podcast for probably the rest of my life almost. Like, I love doing it. So,
yeah,
that's my goal.
We'll be like old men from now, like 20 years, like, let's play the DLC to Immortals.
I mean, when the podcast started out, it was a lot of we did a lot of like PS1, Super Nintendo games, and then it kind of just drifted, and it's still older stuff, but then I try to work in a few newer things here and there when I just want to play.
Yeah,
like, I'm doing a bunch of new games. The end of this year, I'm doing Gotham Knights, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm doing a bunch of those.
Oh my God, you doing Guardians of the Galaxy video game?
Mm-hmm.
It was my game of the year for the year that it came out. I fucking love that game. I can't believe people aren't going around talking about it. I think it's great.
I'll put you on.
I also love it with a passion.
January.
Such a fantastic game.
I think it's January.
It's so good.
I don't remember, but I know I'm doing it because I've heard too many things about it. Like, I need to play it.
After watching Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, man, I really do appreciate that game because that is the funniest game I've ever played. Video games rarely make me actually chuckle and laugh. I legit laughed throughout that whole game. I thought the writing was so good. I would go as far as saying that version of Gamora and Drax is funnier than the movies.
Okay, you're selling me even more on the game that I'm okay. So
I don't like to build hype, but I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. I don't. Either way, I've already heard a friend of mine, Blair, who's been on the show many times. He's my comic book guy, comic book video game guy. He's the reason I'm even playing that game because he's like, this game is great. Like, you were missing out.
Sweet.
I'm like, all right, I'll try.
Good.
That's why I'm actually playing. And from the last group I'm going to read from Giant Bomb, I got from David Andrew Robinson. Just started playing it recently on my Switch, about 10 hours in, and hasn't entirely grabbed me, honestly. I get that. It can take a little bit, especially if
10 hours in, huh?
All right, from Nicholas London, one of the best games Ubi has released in the last 5 years.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay.
From Kane Dietzel, I really enjoyed this game. It looks like the sequel planned on improving in all the right areas. Yeah. From Brian Strelekis, I got this at a very deep discount on PS5 a couple years ago. Only scratched the surface. I think it has a nice look, but the framing of the story doesn't click with me.
Yeah, yes, just mute it and just turn on your music or listen to Mike's podcast and just play the game.
And the last comment from Keith O'Donnell, yes, Breath of the Wild, but better. Love this dumb thing.
Hey! That should have been on the posters for this game. Breath of the Wild, but better.
So we'll see what I think when I play Breath of the Wild in January. Oh, I'm excited
nervous.
To
hear that one. Yeah, so, I'm excited because I'm gonna relate to a lot of your frustrations. I bet with that one.
I'm also gonna have to rebuy that game because I have it on Wii U. I'm gonna need it on Switch. I'm gonna need it mobile so I can just. I'm gonna have to gun through that game in a couple weeks. So, which is not the way to play Breath of the Wild, from my understanding. I'm also going to print out a map so I know where everything is. Yes, so I can just find what I want. Because my issue with Breath of the Wild back then was I didn't know how to get more inventory slots because there were no guides. I didn't look up anything, and I never found a Korok in the couple hours I played. So
yeah, they are well hidden. So.
And I wasn't looking for them because the game didn't tell me to look for them.
Yeah, as I said earlier, my girlfriend's such a big fan of Breath of the Wild that she has found all of the Koroks and got the pointless reward at the end of it as well. And I can't even consider that idea myself.
Did she use a guide or she just did it on her own?
I think when she got to the last few, she needed to look up a little bit on YouTube where they were. But as I say, she's finished that game so many times, it's her jam. It's her relaxing space is playing Breath of the Wild.
When you're looking for those Korok seeds, it's like you'll just see a rock on the top of a hill and you're like, all right, I could use that rock to throw it at something. But like if you pick it up, it might just give you one of those guys and like, hey, here's a seed. And I'm like, oh my God, so I got to pick up every rock in this game?
Yeah.
And then like when I'm playing Phoenix, those rocks are just there for weapons. And, like you can just chuck them at people or something like that. But there's no like reward for picking them up. But I kept doing it anyways. But I do like the rock mechanic in Immortals Fenyx Rising because if you are fighting a monster and it throws rocks or it picks up a tree and launches a tree at you, you can grab it in the air and throw it back. And I always think that's a great mechanic. I think that's a fun mechanic.
So satisfying.
Also, while we've been talking, I've been watching a speedrun, as I tend to do, just to get stuff to that I might have missed.
Mhm.
I never use the hammer that you get in this his hammer. I never used it,
Don't think I did, apart from
which is how you like cheat this game.
Mm.
Because like in a lot of those puzzles where you had to like roll a block a certain way, she'll just hit it with a hammer and just knock it where it needs to go.
Yeah, aside
Are
from
you
times when I
freaking
needed to
kidding
use
me?
it,
I didn't know that. What is this hammer?
And there's
thing
also a
you guys are
spear
talking
thing you
about?
can do where you can launch yourself higher in your jump using stamina to get higher to glide farther. Did not ever see the spear thing either.
I have the spear thing. That's where like a bunch of them come from the ground and attack things and shoot you up in the air. That I got, and you can do that in the air, and then you can do that. I get that, but like I didn't know about this.
Yeah, the hammer, because like there's like some of the puzzles with the ball where you have to like roll the ball or break things. She just took the hammer, hit the ball, launched it over to where it was supposed to go until she got it right, and then just went on with the game.
All right, there's a quest I was literally working on, and I'm like, F it, I'm done. I can't figure out how to move these giant things over without. All right, well now I know.
So yeah. Okay. All right, let's go to Shelf Stacker Box, and I'll go first in this case. I'm a little torn. I mean, now that I'm done with this game and I'm thinking about it more, my appreciation of it is better than it was when I finished it a week ago. So I'm going to put it on the shelf because the more I think about it in hindsight, the more I appreciate it. And I did want to play the DLC immediately after, but I was like, no. You've Onimusha 2, you got to play. So,
which means it worked as far as like getting you excited.
Except now I know I'm not playing that New Gods one if I find it's all puzzles. We can skip that. Even though part of me, the completionist in me, was like, well, you should play that. But it'd just be Google, like, how do you do this puzzle? How do you do this puzzle? So it's going on the shelf, and I'm glad I did play it. What about you, Ian?
my copy is still proudly displayed on my shelf.
Oh yeah,
I love the game. It's not the one that I would take into trade in. There are other games on my shelf that I would trade in if that was something I would want to do. But no, proudly displayed on the shelf.
Okay. And what about you, Brandon?
yeah. I think I am too. I have on my Xbox. I have you can make groups, and I have some games, single player games, open world games mostly that just take me a long time to play, and it's called Games to Complete, and it's really just games that, like, you know what, I'm going to finish this game because I do like it, and it's a long game, or I only play in small bits, but this is a game that has been there, and when I've been looking for a reason to come back to play it, because when I do like it. So when you said, like, hey, you know, I'm having a hard time getting people to get on this podcast, would you do it? And I'm like, I would, actually, because I want to support this game. I think this game is worth checking out. So I definitely have it in my shelf. Like, it's there. I'm not going to hide it. And I do want to play that DLC, especially the Ancient Chinese.
Yeah, I'm on board for two of them for sure. That top-down one, if you look up a review of it, it looks actually pretty cool.
Mm.
I didn't cry.
It just didn't sit right with me for some reason. I can't remember what it was that I wasn't enamored with about that DLC, but the puzzle one, that's right up my street. The Chinese one, amazing.
For the price, though, I mean, Mike got all that stuff for like $20. I just think,
that's
like,
incredible.
At that point, you've gotten more than $20 worth of value. Like that now, it feels like free DLC.
You know, this game was worth the price for $20. My only complaint is that I didn't buy it on a Steam sale. I bought it on a Fanatical sale, and I got stuck with it on Ubisoft Store, not on my Steam account. I mean, does not matter, but to me personally, it pissed me off. But it's a me problem. Mainly it upset me because it's harder for me to get Ubisoft games to run on Steam than it would have been had it just got it off of Steam.
Okay.
Again, me problem, but on the Steam Deck, because I wanted to run on the Steam Deck and not on my PC, so I could have take this around with me and played it easier. But it's not the game's problem. I try to make sure when there are me issues, I don't tie them with the game. Like stuff like that.
Right.
But it ties in with your whole experience, I suppose. But...
yeah, I mean, you can play Steam Deck games. I mean, you can play Ubisoft games. I was going through a thing where I found a guide on YouTube of how to like select it to where you could make it all run real easy, and I must have failed somewhere because when I went to launch it wouldn't launch. So it wasn't simple. But so I just kind of moved on and just played. I have a laptop, like I'll just play on my laptop. But yeah. All right, and I shouldn't talk about what you're going to hear me talk about next week. Next week we are starting Spooktober event.
Ooh.
And we are starting with Onimusha 2.
Yes!
So nice. Never played that one.
I did not either until I beat it yesterday. But I actually went and I have a PS2 copy that I bought for $13 at EB Games to the right of me, which I did not play that version, by the way. I emulated, but I bought it for $13 back in probably 04, 05. My first job. Is my
Okay.
guess.
How many hours did it take you?
10 or 11.
Okay, that's perfect.
It's not long. It can get a little hard, but I'll talk about it next week. But yeah, it's a good game. All right, and Brandon, where can people find you at?
I'm from the podcast, The Nomads of Fantasy. Mike is one of our more popular recurring guests. So if you like Mike, there's a couple episodes he's done with us. We're just called The Nomads of Fantasy because we aren't really fanboys. We're willing to check out pretty much anything in movies, video games, and TV shows. So when we say fantasy, it's not just dragons and swords and magic. It's anything fictional, anything that's just not here that somebody created and took the time to make a world, characters, story, music. So we just love to go check it out like a nomad would, just constantly moving around. And then we come back and we talk about it on our podcast. So yeah, if that's something that you want to check out, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we are a podcast. So check us out. And I'm excited the next time Mike is on our podcast again, because he always has not a different perspective, but sometimes it's different from me specifically. So I always like hearing your, like if we ever do the BioShock Infinite, I might have you or Bill. On that one.
Bill might not do it, but I'll gladly do it.
I know I want Bill because he hates it, and I'm so mad at him because I love that guy, but I'm mad at he doesn't like that game at all.
No, he hates that game. Oh, which I find hilarious. I mean, I had issues with that game too, but yeah. No, yeah, just let me know. All right, and you will see links in the show notes to Nomads of Fantasy. And if you enjoyed this podcast, there's over 500 other episodes of this podcast. You can find everything on Podbean, because Spotify and iTunes only go back so far. And the great thing about Podbean, you can go right to our page and just search. Just type in anything you want. Star Wars, Rise of the Argonauts, which I have covered, another Greek game. God of War, just type in a name. You never know, it might pop up, because we've done tons of stuff in this podcast so far, and there's tons of stuff still coming. So definitely go check all that out. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon for Little Dog. Vote in our Patreon poll. I forgot that this is going to be a new month, so I did not write down, but it'll be 4 spooky movies that Mike has never seen. So you can go, you'll see a link in the show notes to our Patreon, and we do have a Discord. Please join our Discord. It's actually gotten much more lively, and you'll see a link in the show notes to Discord. It is accurate now. If you tried before and didn't work, or just tell me, I'll send you a link. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, everything, Threads, X, wherever you want to find me. I'm around somewhere. So. All right, and want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Helena at Hell Has Free. You can follow her on TikTok. And want to give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, did the MCU movies with me. He started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40. Definitely go check him out also. And I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
See you.
Bye-bye.